Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about bye-bye Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg, the American businessman, the American politician, the American author, the American philanthropist, has declared that he is not running for the 2020 presidential election. He declared this just yesterday, so this news is hot, fresh off the griddle, right? Which I love, right? I'm so excited about the 2020 presidential election. It's really exciting. It's the best sports. American politics are the best sports there are. All the hits, none of the quits. Except today we got a quit, right? We have a quit from Michael Bloomberg saying, I'm dropping out. I'm out of the election, right? I am super hyped about this. I want to talk about this, and so let's talk about it. All right. So one, I just love why he talked about what he said on why he's dropping out, okay? And also there are huge ramifications for Michael Bloomberg dropping out of the election, and I want to break all these out, okay? So this is my analysis of Michael Bloomberg leaving the 2020 presidential election, okay? All right, let's talk about it. All right, so Bloomberg said, hey, I can beat Trump, but I can't beat the Democrat field, right? Bet. 100% correct. I think he is absolutely right. I think Bloomberg would have just smacked down Trump in the general election. I think he could have went toe for toe with him, as far as verbal debating. I think he would have been very aggressive on the campaign trail. I think he could have beat him on policy levels. I think he could have beat him. I think he's a little more intelligent than Trump. By the way, I think Trump is intelligent, and not everybody agrees on that, which is ridiculous. Trump is. You can say a lot of things about Trump, but he is intelligent. There's no two ways about that. It's not really even a debatable topic, right? It's amazing to me that there are people who think that Trump isn't intelligent. You're just not paying attention if that's what you think, right? All right. So here's the issue, right? So Bloomberg, I think he would have trounced Trump on the campaign field. I feel he's 100% right. He could have beat him in the election, but Bloomberg did the numbers, right? So one, if Bloomberg's saying I'm not running for president, right? He's got reasons for that. So one, Bloomberg didn't just wake up and drink his coffee and say, it's too hard, I'm not going to do it. He ran the numbers. Bloomberg makes. He has a business that makes millions and millions of dollars doing analysis, right? Financial analysis, mostly. And so he ran the numbers, and he looked at it and said, I'm not going to be able to win, right? Now, the other thing is, so one, this is an analysis he did, and out of that analysis, he's saying, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm not going to be able to make it past the Democratic field, right? There are 24 people, like senator, congress people, governors, entrepreneurs. People are coming out of the woodworks, man, to run for the Democrat presidential candidacy, right? And he's like, I can't make it past all them. And I think he's 100% right. I don't think he would have, all right? So why is that, all right? Well, it's huge. It has huge ramifications, all right? So this is what I believe. This is the reason why I think he could not be the Democrat candidate, the Democrat candidates, right? All right, here's why. He has low intersectionality, close to no intersectionality, and he has wealth, right? Now that makes it virtually impossible for him to win the Democrat election in 2020, okay? So let's talk about the low intersectionality, right? So intersectionality is the commerce of modern Democrats, right? They care deeply about intersectionality, right? So one of the things about Democrats is they have a genuine care. They really, I feel many of them really want to help the underdog, right? And so how do you become an underdog? You become an underdog when you have attributes. When you have attributes in yourself, when you have attributes that make it difficult for your life to live, right? So let's say that you're a single father, right? That is an attribute that makes it difficult for your life to live, right? So you are now a single father. You're going to have a very hard time keeping a job because, like, for instance, if your child is sick or if your child needs to stay home, you have a harder time going to work because you only have one income, right, to pay for daycare. Everything becomes harder if you are a single father than if you had a partner who was helping you to raise that child, right? Okay, so that is a struggle, right? So generally, so being a single father could be, for many people, and probably for most people, could be a struggle, okay? Let's say I'm blind, right? Okay, now if I'm blind, this group has been traditionally persecuted, right? There are people like Helen Keller. There are Helen Keller jokes exist. That's horrific, right? If I say Helen Keller joke, people know what I mean because they probably have heard one in their lifetime, right? That is horrendous that Helen Keller jokes should exist. And some blind people have been persecuted. So that's a group that is traditionally persecuted, right? Now, if I'm blind, that's a struggle. If I'm a single father, right, that's a struggle, right? But if I'm a blind single father, that is intersectionality, right? That is taking sources of struggle and stacking them, right? Democrats, this is their currency. The more intersectionality you have, the more likely you are to be listened to, right? And the more likely you are to have authenticity or standing when you speak on subjects, right? Because when we're talking about politics, especially the 2020 presidential election, right, people are going to talk about struggle. They're going to say, I have this personal struggle. I've been vexed with this source of woe, right? And then they'll get into it, right? Well, if you belong to groups that have traditionally struggled, right, and you have sources of struggle stacked like pancakes, you are going to have an easier time talking to Democrats because they're kind-hearted. Often they're very kind-hearted, right? And they kind of have some empathy, right? They have more. I will say this: I think Democrats generally have more empathy than Republicans, right? And at the macro level, not certainly not at the individual level, but at the macro level, right? They have empathy, right? Well, here's the problem with Michael Bloomberg. I don't know if he figured this out. He might have thought that he would lose for some other reason, but I think this is the reason he would lose. Low intersectionality. It means he has no standing when he's speaking about struggle, right? So if somebody comes forward and they say, hey, I'm having a hard time keeping a job because I keep losing my jobs because I'm caring very carefully for my child. I'm putting them in the best daycare. That daycare is costing me $1,600 a month. I barely have enough money to cover it, and then I'm having to take days off because my child might have eczema, right? And I have to, take them to the doctor and make sure that their balm is put on correctly. And I'm struggling, right? And then they might have some other source of woe, and this is talked about in a town meeting, right? What on earth is Michael Bloomberg going to talk about, right, when it comes to struggle, right? Literally, that person would say that to him and say, I'm struggling to keep jobs. I'm struggling to care for my child well, right? What's Michael Bloomberg going to say? He's going to, well, there was one time where my yacht was in the docks for repairs, and I had to take out my smaller yacht. My smaller yacht. Did you catch that? I have to take out my smaller yacht, right? Like he has no intersectionality. There are not sources of struggle like stacked up like pancakes in his life, right? He's a low intersectionality candidate. And here's the kicker, right? This is the real ball of wax with Michael Bloomberg pulling out. Not only is Michael Bloomberg 100% correct that he could not beat the presidential candidate field because nobody's going to listen to him, right? Because one, low intersectionality is a problem for Democrats. Here's the other one. Wealth is a problem for Democrat candidates, right? On the conservative side, on the Republican side, you got two yachts? Bet. I am hearing you, right? Like Republicans are like, what else you got, right? Like, wealth is a positive for a Republican candidate. For a Democrat candidate, wealth makes it harder for the macro level Democrat to hear you, right? And they're like, what do you know of struggle? What do you know of woe, right? How have you rebelled? You haven't rebelled. You're right all up in the system, man. So Democrats, wealth is a negative. It's an absolute negative, right? Now, here's the thing, right? But actually, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the low sectionality, right? So So basically, because of low sectionality, he has low intersectionality. Because Michael Bloomberg has low intersectionality, it's going to be very, very hard for him to be heard, right? And here you go, right? That means that every candidate that has low intersectionality, you can write them off. And I think the reason you can write him off, Joe Biden, write him off. He's done, right? And the reason why is the analysis of Bloomberg, right? Bloomberg looked at it, and I think he realized this. He did not say this, right? And I don't think he ever would. I think he realized that his low intersectionality invalidates him from being heard. You cannot sway someone if they can't hear you, right? And I think the average Democrat is not going to listen to Joe Biden and is not going to listen to Michael Bloomberg because they have low intersectionality. They do not have sources of struggle in their life. They do not have stacked like pancakes, right? Not that are macro level, like they might have had some small personal problem or something, but it's not something that's going to capture that is valued by the Democrats, right? And so, like a source of struggle that they have fought to alleviate for decades, right? Now, there are other candidates. There's lots of candidates in the Democratic field who have sources of struggle that the Democrats have fought to alleviate for decades, right? They can point to heroes and say, look at this hero who fought against this source of struggle, right? Bloomberg doesn't have any of that. Biden doesn't have any of that. Beto O'Rourke doesn't have any of that, to my knowledge, right? I haven't done all my checks on Beto O'Rourke, but Biden, Bloomberg, done. Low intersectionality, done. You're not going to get heard. You're not going to make it through the field, right? Especially when you have high intersectionality or intersectionality candidates, right? Who have currency. They already have money in hand, right? To run, not literal money, okay? But the currency of being heard by Democrats. And so this is absolutely huge. I think it's really, really a big deal that Bloomberg has checked out. And it would be a big deal if it was like, hey, Michael Bloomberg's gone. But my read here is all low intersectionality candidates. Anybody who's similar to Michael Bloomberg, anybody who's similar to Joe Biden, done. You can just write them off the list, right? And right now, looking at the politics from the perspective of sports, right? And that's what I'm doing. This is me doing political commentating the same way people would commentate on sports. I'm in this at this point, especially on the Democrat side, and I think we could do this in the primary elections. This is in many ways it's entertainment. It's not only entertainment, but it is highly entertaining, right? Especially if and I'm more on the conservative side, so I get to view this little circus that's happening on the Democrat side from the perspective of entertainment, because I'm not fully invested in it. Because I will say I intended to be more on the entertainment side, but more and more I am being drawn in by the genuineness of some of the candidates. Certainly not Michael Bloomberg. Right? I think he's very genuine, but the reality. Okay, so one. What do we make of? Why am I laughing at Michael Bloomberg? Sorry, Michael. Sorry for laughing at you. But I do think this is weak sauce, man. So you did your numbers and you're like, oh, I can beat Trump. Bet. I totally agree. You would have wrecked him, right? I think Michael Bloomberg could have wrecked Trump in the general election, right? Also, I think there's a possibility that Biden would have done okay against Trump. He would have had a chance, right? But the reality is, both of those guys, there's no way they're getting through the Democratic field, right? Because there's just going to be more people who have intersectionality, right? And they're going to be able to talk to sources of struggle, right? And that's what Democrats want to hear. They want to hear, I've struggled, right? There have been times where I've been in a situation where I was persecuted. There have been times where these intersectionalities have made my life more difficult, right? That's like a dog whistle to Democrats. They perk up what do you have to say? I want to hear this, right? I can hear your intersectionality. Talk, preach, right? But Biden and Michael Bloomberg don't have it. And so if you're a candidate and you have a lot of attributes that are the same as Michael Bloomberg and Joe Biden, you're done, right? But here's the issue too, though. From a personal perspective, right? I have just a little bit less respect today for Michael Bloomberg than I did yesterday. And the reason why is Bloomberg, like he was the mayor of New York, right? You don't get there without a little tough skin, right? And so he had the money and he had the wherewithal to make this 2020 presidential run, right? And I think he should have got in there, daggers out, fought the best fight he could fight, and then lost, right? Because the reality is, even after he run the numbers, Michael Bloomberg cannot be counted out completely, right? I think he would have had between a 5 and 25% chance of winning, right? He should have taken it, right? And frankly, if you're somebody who can't take a long shot, who isn't going to bet on themselves in a long shot, I certainly don't want you as president, right? So the reality is I have a little bit less respect for Bloomberg today than I did yesterday. I have respect for the man. I'll tell you why I have respect for Bloomberg in a minute. But I have less respect for him because he's not betting on himself in a long shot. Man, if you're going to be president, right, you definitely need to be a person that are going to bet on themselves in a long shot, right? That seems like the minimum you need to, the minimum that you need to do, right? So all that is going forward, and now I do have respect for Michael Bloomberg. It's kind of an odd reason, right? So why do I have respect for Michael Bloomberg? Well, I am a political commentator, right? And I commentate on politics, and it is incredibly difficult to commentate on politics well. And here's why. Right? It's not hard to commentate on politics. It's hard to do it well, right? And the reason why is when I'm commentating on politics, one, I want to say something new and fresh. I don't want to just echo what's already been said, right? Two, I want to do it with respect and decorum, right? So saying something new and fresh about politics with respect and decorum is not easy, right? Now, I've spent 10 years watching some of the best political commentators in the world, and those are the three people on Slate Political Gabfest. David Plotz is like the Michael Jordan of political commentating. John Dickerson is the LeBron James of political commentating, and Emily Bazelon is the Mia Hamm of soccer, of political commentating, right? They're all world-class political commentators, right? David Plotz, CEO of Atlas Obscura and longtime podcaster and founding member of the Slate Political Gabfest, he absolutely loves Michael Bloomberg as a candidate. And I will tell you right now, there are crocodile tears coming out of his eyes right now because he loves Michael Bloomberg as a candidate. And I have to say, from raw talent, I think, actually, Michael Bloomberg, I think he could be a great independent candidate. He's going to be a great Republican candidate. I think he would have been a great Democrat candidate. But the reality is, Democrats have no desire to listen to low intersectionality candidates right now. Absolutely none, right? And so he's 100% right that and it's hard. That's another thing we've learned from Michael Bloomberg is billionaires are going to lose freedom and money and respect when they run for president. We have seen this actually, we're seeing this very much right now. It is a very hard job to be a president, right? And to the Democrats' point, right, I could see where having a high intersectionality candidate would solve this, right? So if you're a high intersectionality candidate and you've had a lot of struggle in your life and then you come to the presidency, you're going to get a ton of struggle. Everybody in the world is going to be gunning for you, trying to take you down, doing investigations against you. Every single thing you do goes under the microscope, and somebody is going to be unhappy, without a doubt, right? And so if you're a billionaire, right, you for a long time, you've lived kind of a struggle-free life, and you can use money to assuage problems, right? But the moment you become president, you have a ton of problems that cannot be brushed away by money, right? Also, I think it's really interesting that Michael Bloomberg could not get rid of his low intersectionality Low intersectionality is a problem that cannot be gotten rid of with money, right? Really, really interesting. So Bloomberg had a resource there, but man, this is the action. And for me, the action is the juice. I'm a very big fan of heat, clearly, right? So it's really exciting to see the presidential election, the 2020 presidential election, the primary periods heating up. Very exciting. I was so excited to see this news this morning. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my analysis of Bloomberg's decision. I'd love to hear your thoughts on if you think he was right or wrong for dropping out. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful day.